I feel like slavery, to a certain extent, is a choice.
No, we're not talking modern
If
slavery.
you're talking about mental slavery,
No, I'm talking about slavery.
See, but you have to
Was a
talk about
choice.
mental slavery because those we talk about that now from this vantage point. We don't.
See,
We
you
don't know.
see what you're saying?
choice.
See,
We
when you
don't
try to
know
criticize the
being born.
nigga and say slavery, slavery was not a choice. Then who the fuck is Nat Turner, bro?
You
Who's
talking
Nat Turner?
about
He made a choice.
Yeah,
You
sure.
talking about all right, chattel slavery, right? You talking about the colonization or the kidnapping
Right.
of Africans, bringing them to a land which is foreign, and then I guess it's similar to, say, trafficking. Human
Right.
trafficking.
That's a fact.
Modern day human trafficking. Human trafficking is a choice. I can choose not to be human trafficked right now.
Right.
It's worse than that because it's one thing to be made a slave, right? That's where your choice comes in. If you know what it is to be free, then you're choosing to be a slave. If you were born thinking that this is the way it's supposed
Then
to be,
who is Nat Turner, bro?
an exception to the rule. That don't
Why
make
is he an exception to the rule and not
We're
what
all
everybody could have
exceptions
been?
because that would have been the rule.
Nah, you can't, because
See,
everybody's not tough or revolutionary.
You gonna take
You
one
can't put,
dude.
you can't put, he's
If that was the case, we'd have a million Malcolm X's.
Right.
We'd have a million Martin Luther Kings.
But thank God that we do.
Those things.
Thank God that we do,
I'm
bro.
not mad that we got a Nat Turner, but to sit there and shit on everybody else who was born into this, you make it sound like they knew.
we only got
Like,
one.
who's Harriet Tubman?
We only got one Nat Turner.
Hold on. Where in history have we recorded the slave that was cool with slavery? All of the people that we praise or look back in Black History Month, we
There's
look
some
at the
recorders
people who did not accept it, right?
of those slaves.
No.
So how is that saying that it wasn't a
There
choice?
are
house
100
niggas was the niggas that was
Thank
cool
you.
with slavery.
Nobody knows the name of anybody know the name of a famous house
We
nigga?
can't bring it up. We can't.
Nobody?
Why would anybody record that?
But this is what I'm saying.
That's because niggas
this is what
didn't
I'm
care
saying.
about them.
Why would anybody record
I don't
that?
think
No,
house niggas
they-
had a choice either, though.
But this is what I'm saying, bro.
I
Like,
mean, they had a choice when they started snitching and they started, but for everybody that
You got-
for everybody that Harriet Tubman brought up, you know, she had to shoot a couple of niggas who didn't want to go,
yeah,
right?
word.
You know,
Those are the
she had
niggas
to
that
fuck
didn't,
those
that
niggas.
didn't, that thought it wasn't a choice.
Let's consider this. Let's consider
They was
this.
like,
Right?
Those are the niggas that didn't have a choice, right?
They're not brave enough to be revolutionary
And
and try to run.
she plugged them. When
Let's
they were
consider.
slowing
Let's
down the
consider.
train,
Let's
she
consider
plugged them.
slavery is not just this physical thing, right? So
it's
now,
Because it's not, though.
so now, when you talk about removing a person from what they're used to, now I'm going to culture you or
Groom.
just groom you to believing into this thing. Like slavery is way more than you just being chained to
But
something.
that's not
Right.
even grooming you.
The
That's
mental slavery.
forcing you
Right.
into.
No, but
So
you got
Here's where
It's a conditioning.
That's the word.
It's a
Right.
conditioning
Right.
that
Right.
takes more than what you have these different
But that's a tactic that they use. That's like a fucking what they call it shit. That's a tactic that they use to break you to
Of
talk
course,
about.
so you can't
Do
say,
something.
all right. So do the knowledge, right? Because if you say it's a choice, if there are people who have spent centuries breaking another type of people, right? Not raising their people up, but breaking these people. Like whatever we do, we good, but we're gonna break these people.
Right.
So we have to work, and not only are we enslaving the mentalities and the bodies and souls of these people, but we are preaching to these people that it's okay to do that.
Right.
So the slavery mentality has such a wicked duality that now we're not only just saying, all right, it's a color thing. Now it becomes like a class system. Now we can go deeper into slavery where you have blacks that have slaves.
Right.
Where you have when you go back into Egypt, you're like, all right, you talking about servitude and you talking about like that type of place.
Right.
So now we talk about the choice was like, all right, we're gonna have a rebellion, where we have a bunch of rebellions and that nature, but slavery is a practice that has been preached,
But yet we glorify the people who made a choice.
Of course.
right?
No, we
No, we do. Because there
course.
ain't no famous house niggas. There's no famous house niggas.
mean,
There's
I
nobody
was-
we say, yo, this nigga was recorded as one of the best house niggas ever. Like, nobody does that. Nobody does that. We praise the people who decided, like, yo, something ain't right here. I'm about to fight
There
against
is
this shit
house
because I'm not
niggas,
feeling
Uncle
it.
Tom niggas
Right.
that niggas be like, now you on your bullshit.
Uncle Tom
You
was
being
a
an
real
Uncle
person.
Tom,
Right.
house nigga shit.
Right.
Uncle Tom was
So-
actually a real person.
Right. So
Right.
when we breaking a nigga, you bucking him. That's what the slave word is used for. When you bucking
Now the thing
somebody.
the thing that always makes me think, what would make someone break out of this brainwashing? And there's one word. Love. If you have a love for your woman, you see the treatment, it affects you. You have a love for your child, you see the treatment, it affects you. Something gets turned where you're like, all right, you can whoop me. I was fine with it. But my kid, and I gotta stand here and watch it, that's gonna change something in you where you're gonna be like, nah, this ain't right. Something ain't right.
That's because
you
as
hope.
a man,
But you
you're,
hope
you're,
that'll change.
you're,
No,
you're,
but that
you're
bad
born a
habits-
protector.
right. You don't have kids yet.
No,
But one of the things that I realized is once I had my first son, I realized everything that I wanted for him, I really wanted for myself.
Or what you didn't have that you wanted to provide for
Right.
them.
Right. So you feel like an empathy where you're like, nah, that gotta change. But then you looked at yourself and be like, damn, I wish it was changed for me.
That's tricky, man. That's tricky.
But
That's tricky.
I know what you're saying though, but it's like even in fighting that type of oppression, you couldn't imagine the amount of slaves that felt that way and fought that way and still died for their family, but still died. It took 400 years, and we still in the mental part of slavery ain't even going nowhere to this fucking
That's-
day. Niggas
and
still
that's the
believing in
point.
white Jesus and all that shit
That's
right
the
now.
point.
Right.
That's
So it's like
the
the mental
point.
part
That's
of
the
it
point.
is even worse than the physical. That shit
And
is
that's
still
the
lasting
point.
right now.
We make it
and you
sound
got
like-
jail and some more shit right now.
we make it sound
You know
like
what I'm
dudes can't. We make it sound like people were taken from Africa, got here, turned into slaves, and decided to stay. We had looking over.
Niggas
By
dying.
the time,
Generations
by the
of it.
time we
Yeah.
get to the slaves that Kanye is talking about, the people who could have told you that anything was different been dead. Those people,
Gruesomely.
those guys been dead.
But
Ripped apart by horses. Mothers were teaching children, stay in line. Don't cross that white man. Don't look him in the eye. Why? Because they remember what happened to their husbands.
Right.
The husbands who had
We
dudes,
talking about-
dudes like you in your position who sit there and go, I got a son, I got a daughter, I got a wife. They can't get down no more like that. Slave masters saw him, chain him up between a couple of horses. This is what happens when you start thinking like that.
Well, you talking about like
But
people was
what do you
marching
prefer?
for equality. Like, all right, slavery aside, like in the United States of America, which as the gods say, peace to the gods on earth. When you talk about the wilderness of North America, right? Like, black people have been going, can we vote? White people have been going, no. Black people have been going, can we go to school? White people have been going, no. So slavery aside, right? Let's talk about this mentality that's going, yo, we want to make sure you do not get any of these assets that we have access to.
Right.
So in that part where we're talking about like, okay, after slavery, when we talk about Jim Crow, now we have these laws for grown men. Like we have like, you know, green cards and for people who are, you know, soldiers and places they can go and places they can go. And then you go to the industry where even, you know, you're making $1 million and then you got to go through the back door. So slavery has not only affected people who have actually been there,
Right.
and the people who are like, directly should be
I'm gonna
getting.
put my foot here to hold you down because you're getting passionate and your chair. It be like, yeah.
I'm about to get on my
Because I
belly.
see you getting passionate right now, so I'm gonna hold you down right here.
No, I'm good, but I'm saying it not only affects those ones that will directly, you know, ancestors, you know, direct ancestors of that, but then as it goes and it's like it's a systematic slavery. It's
Yeah.
a systematic
That's the worst
mentality
part.
Yeah.
where it's like, yo, people expect you, a person of a darker hue or a different nationality. I mean, it's a time when the Irish was looked at as you
yeah,
know
the low-
the
the
dregs
bottom
of
of-
society.
yeah, the bottom.
And you know, and then
Right.
as far as these people, it's like, okay, so we're all here, which Africans didn't do, which was like, let's stick together. You know, so when you got cats in hip hop, and when you see, the community sticking together, you know, it kind of it's automatically something that a germ would do. A germ stick together with germs, like we're germinating,
Right.
like you know what I mean. So it's like it's already in our nature to survive. You know what I mean? But it's in some people's instilled nature, or maybe it's a conditioning of them going, yo, we have to make sure that germ does not live.
Flourish.
Right.
We got to kill that. Wherever, that
Yeah,
cockroaches, you still breathing?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So I mean, it comes in like, you know, when you say we hit words like technology or wizardry, and I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about people like really trying to conjure up spells that go, yo, how come you guys keep winning? How come black people keep why are you so resilient?
Resilient, right.
You know? So it's like, all right, well, when you go back in biblical times, right? You want to deal with that part. You talk about Moses and you know, the Exodus, and you know, like you're leaving from an oppressed place to create something. You know, whatever this the land of milk and honey, whatever that's supposed to be, whatever that concept is. If it never existed, the concept alone is beautiful.
Right.
You know, because you could go, let's speak esoteric, like slavery could just be one thought. Right? Which we've seen that, which we experience that all the time. People are just in that thought. But we actually know people who have been hung. I mean, 60 years ago, bro. I'm talking about
Which ain't that long ago.
Ain't that long ago.
We watched people like
this lynchings just still
5
happening
years
to this
ago.
day.
That's a fact.
We watched that. We watched, you know, we don't see that. We don't see that when it's a different hue.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we watch black people get killed in front of our eyes. We watch them on television. We see postcards of black people hanging. Like, you know, they still got cases of young men hanging, like recently in this century, bro.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you something crazy.
In this year.
My man, he's from Alabama. He's our age. He's a little younger than us. He said when he was about 18, 19, his boss drove him into a neighborhood that black people don't go to. But he was like, you know, it's payday, I gotta get my check, I'm riding. Mother like, you sure you wanna go there, baby? He's like, yeah, I'm with that boss, is good.
He trying.
And he brought him to a crib, and dad, they think he about to get his check. Nigga, they came in there and threw a noose on the couch. Like, you gonna die today, nigga? Word to my mother. I'm like, hold on, nigga, you my age. When the fuck was this shit? This was like 2000. I couldn't believe it.
So how do you make it out of
And
there?
they were doing tattoos. So they was like, you want to get a tattoo before you go? This how they talking to him. And he just trying to buy time. He's like, yeah, fuck it. He says, they gave him a piece of paper, said, draw your tattoo. We're gonna give it to you before we hang you.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf you heard.